Okay, today we're going to be going over Unit 5, Lesson 5. These are for non-right triangles in the law of sines. So the first thing is if we can look at the triangle here and see if you can figure out any ways to solve for the missing side and missing angle of this triangle. Well, first thing I notice is that it does give us two of the angles, and we all know that a triangle does all the angles of a triangle do add up to 180. So we could go 180 minus 40 minus 65 on your calculator, and we can see this gets to be 75 degrees. That's one way we can go ahead and solve for this. Excuse me. And then we're going to want to solve for any of the other sides. And because this is not a right triangle, we're going to have to sort of make it a right triangle. And so we can bring the altitude down. Perfect, but you get the idea. And we get this a right triangle. And we could go from here and try to figure out what is this side, and we can figure out this side. And then once we know those, we can go through the 40 and we can figure out B and part of the C, add all the C together. So just talking over different ways of how you can do it. Okay, and then that's what we talked about. Now, with laws of sines, we have two formulas. The first one is going to be used for missing sides. The other one is going to be for missing angles. And if you notice, the only difference between missing sides and missing angles is what is on the numerator. The numerator is what we're trying to find. Okay? And you're never going to need all three of these. You're just going to use two. And once you plug in what you can, you're going to do cross multiplication. All right, so here we're going to do this one. And we're going to sort of label it, might make it a little bit easier. So angle C is related to side C. Angle B is related to side B. And we don't have anything for angle A or side A, so we're just going to skip that. And since we're trying to find the side, we're going to start with the sides on the numerator. So I'm going to start with B just because it has an angle and it has a side. We're going to do that. So we're going to go 7 over sine and then its angle, which is 35. And we're going to set this equal to our C's. So we're going to go from side C, which we don't know, over the sine of angle C, which is 105 degrees. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cross multiply. Okay, and so we're going to get C sine 35 equals 7 sine 105. I always like doing the number first because sometimes, depending on what calculator you use, if you put the 7 after the 105 without closing off the parentheses, it can change your answer tremendously. And then what we're going to do is we want to get the C by itself. So I'm going to do one more step before I even bring out my calculator. Since sine 35 degrees and C are being multiplied, I'm going to divide both sides by sine 35. And that will cross off. That just becomes a 1. So 7 sine 105 over sine 35. And I would definitely put this into your calculator. Desmos is a great calculator to use. Just make sure you are in degrees. One thing you have to do is make sure you're in degrees. Otherwise, you do get a different answer. If you're doing it in Desmos, it's the right-hand side. You're going to look for the little wrench, and at the very bottom of it, it will say degrees or radians. And it usually does it in radians. You'll need to change it to degrees. If you're doing your phone and doing the calculator with that one, it is going to be a little bit different. You sort of have to work backwards. So figure out the best method on that one. Personally, I don't like using the phone calculator because it just takes it a little bit too long. You could do, if you wanted to use your phone, you could download the Desmos app. It is free. So if you put this one in on my calculator, I just go 7 sine 105 and I go equals, and then I divide it by sine 35, and I'm going to get 11.08. And we know that side C needed to be a little bit longer because the angle was a little bit bigger in this one. Now here we're dealing with, we want to find the angle. So we know angle C is related to that side. And to figure out what angle we're talking about next, we look to see what side we have a letter by, and we go across. And since we're talking about side angles, we're going to have that on the numerator. And I'm going to start with the ones we know. So I'm going to go sine 63 over the side it's related to, 5.5, and then sine, and we don't know the angle, over 4.7. And then we're going to cross multiply. And I'm going to get 5.5 sine B equals 4.7 sine 63. And I do want to get the B by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides 5 by 5.5. And we're going to get sine B. And then I will put this all straight into the calculator. So I'm going to put that straight into the calculator, do the top equals, and then divide it by the bottom. And we get 0.7614. Now we want to get the B by itself. And in order to get the B by itself, we need to get rid of the sign. And hopefully you guys remember back to IM2 where you were doing trig, or what we did a few lessons ago. To get rid of the sign, we're going to take its inverse, sine to the -1. Most calculators, you're going to have to do second sine. And we're going to go angle B is 49.6 degrees. And now you're going to work on the assignment. Good luck.